the chat button today if you want to ask a question or anything like that. So we are about to go into a two-segment two-segment series, I guess, SEO and website building. So today we're really going to focus on SEO. I'm going to hit on websites just a tiny bit. I'll be going back and forth kind of in and out of the presentation to show you a few things kind of like on my website as we talk through things. And then we won't get a ton into website building today. Our next session, which will be Sunday the 21st, we will actually talk about website building, and I'll give you all the tools and tips for that next lesson before we jump off today. My goal is to end this lesson today by 8:30, hopefully a little earlier, because I know this week may have been long for some of you, but that's kind of it. Does anyone have any questions before we start? You can throw them in the chat, and then I'm admitting there are a couple more people hopping in, so I want to give a few minutes because I have to admit everybody. That's another way for us to not get hackers. If I admit folks. So as folks come in, I'll keep admitting folks. So I'll be looking kind of at two screens. All right, so today's lesson is SEO. And we are actually, you all know who I am. We're gonna go through SEO Explained. So we're gonna talk about why SEO, what is SEO, how Google ranks, SEO types, do's and don'ts, and then I'll finish up a little bit with kind of what we're going to cover next time with building a website. With, in particular, we're going to talk through Shopify. Some of you may not be on Shopify and may not be looking to use Shopify, but some of the things I'm going to talk about, the principles of website building, are going to be the same. So getting in front of your customers is ultimately what SEO is. So being seen is super important. What SEO does is, which is search engine optimization. So SEO stands for search engine optimization. It's the system that search engines use to rank the credibility and the visibility of your site to your customers. So when you type something in Google, the SEO is going into play to find you the result that is best fit for you. So an example is Care has a shoe store that's dedicated to comfort wear for working women, like nurses, healthcare workers, etc. But her store is not ranking high on Google to gain organic search results. Care is wondering why this is. So this is why knowing SEO is going to be super important. I'm talking in third person, act like I'm not Care. But this is why it's going to be super important for Care to know about SEO, because she wants to rank higher. Nobody really goes to page 10 when they're searching. So you don't want to be on page 10. You want to be on page 1, page 2, page 3, that kind of thing. Okay. So reasons SEO rankings are low. So Care might not have really good content. The content of her competitors may be better. She might not be using the right keywords, poor or inconsistent link building. We'll talk about link building today. Slow web page load, that's a real thing. And sometimes that's factors that are out of your control. Sometimes it's not anything you did that is the reason that your website is loading slow. User experience on your website is poor. So somebody comes to your website and they have a hard time clicking around, or they have to click around too much for a mobile device that is overwhelming. And then the website is de-indexed. This often happens by mistake. So what de-indexed means is Google removes your website from all searches. So sometimes that happens because it's constantly misspelled. So Google is now reading, like for example, Facebook. Anybody ever typed in Facebook or something? Something still pops up because it's been typed so much that Google SEO is smart enough to know that this could possibly be a real thing since people keep typing it in. And that's how sites sometimes end up being de-indexed. They could be, it could be a matter of folks constantly misspelling things. It could be the placement of a website. It could be that something got hacked. It could be a ton of reasons why. All right. So search engine optimization, or SEO, is the practice of increasing organic traffic on search engine result pages. So you'll hear me say the word SERP. SERP is literally search engine result pages. So that's Google, for example, that when you type something into that little search bar, that's a SERP page. SEO is the process of the search engine doing the work to get you the result that you're looking for. The key to SEO is organic traffic. So something that is not organic traffic is running an ad on Facebook. That's targeted traffic. So I want you all to know the difference. They're both necessary. They are both valuable. They are both needed, but they are not the same thing. Organic traffic is someone searching for you, and targeted traffic is where you are searching for someone else. And we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So how does SEO actually work? So I want you to think about ranking. So similar to like a rubric for a class assignment, there's like a criteria that Google and other search engines like Bing, I don't even think Ask Jeeves even exist anymore, but Yahoo, Bing, some of these other search engines that are out here, it's a criteria that kind of grades your website. And that's what it uses to rank you on certain pages. We're going to talk a little bit about what some of those things are. So as we're going through this, just kind of think about it as if you're maybe writing a paper, and there's certain criteria to get you points to get 100% on that paper. So SEO really focuses on relevant content, searchable titles, logical structure, suitable synopsis, and neat and readable content. So we're going to break that down a little bit more as we walk through the 3 steps that SEO, and in particular, we're really going to focus on Google's SEO system, or shall I say Google's Google's method for SEO, because all search engines are very similar, using some of the same things, but Google is kind of the most popular search engine. So I based this presentation off of folks that are searching through Google. So relevant content is equal to engaging and relevant content. So what that means is you need to be on trend. You need to be doing the research, and I spelled relevant wrong, that sucks, but you need to be doing the research that is involved in making sure that you're not posting something that is 5 weeks outdated, 6 months outdated. Your content needs to keep up. One of the things I think about all the time is TikTok, for example. TikTok came around, and when I tell you things move a lot faster now that TikTok exists, something that might have been trendy for 6 months now is probably only trendy for 2 or 3 months, because now TikTok has got a hold and it's being saturated so much that you need to continuously come up with creative content because everybody has access. Searchable titles. So we're going to talk a little bit about subtitle tags and URL today. We're also going to talk about logical structure, which is going to be your header tags. I'll show you some of that on my website today as well. Suitable synopsis is going to be your meta description. And a meta description, actually, when you're using Shopify in particular, a meta description is actually going to, Nola, sorry, my dog is biting my ankles. Go out there. But a meta description is actually going to kind of be created off of your regular description that you create for your products. You can actually change it to be different on Google. So what you describe to your customers when they come to your site does not have to be exactly what they see on Google. And I'll show you what that is as well. I'm actually going to slide her out of here really quick. I'll be right back. She's biting my ankles. Go have a seat, Nola. And sorry about that. And then neat and readable content, meaning responsive design. Y'all, I did not know my dog knew how to open the door. She just pushed the door open. Who knew that when did you learn that? And now she's back in here. But neat and readable content. So responsive design and site speed. We're going to talk about that as well. Uh-oh, there's a little lag on my computer. Okay, so a tip. Link building plays a vital role on a website's prominence, which Google uses to understand the credibility of content. So we're going to talk a little bit about what link building is and how that plays into SEO. So there are 3 steps to this. So SEO is using 3 kind of criteria. Remember when I told you to think about kind of what it might be like if it was an assignment or a rubric. So the first criteria is something they call crawling. The second one is going to be indexing. And then the third way that Google kind of gets your ranking is through a system of ranking. Give me one more second to get her. What are you doing? Come out of here. Here. she's growing up so fast, y'all. I can't even believe it in my mind. Like, she's opening doors now, and she just needs a lot of attention. It's crazy. So let's get through the first three parts. So crawling. So crawling is the process by which a search engine or bots. So this is, in this case, bots are good. So you know how like when you try to log into something and it makes you click all the pictures of the lights or whatever, so makes you kind of verify that you're not a bot. That is different. That is a bot trying to hack. So search engines actually have good bots, or spiders is also another name for them, that crawl your site kind of every day. You really want your site to be crawled every day, especially if you're uploading new content, if you're constantly going through a lot of different items or inventory. You always want your site to be updated. So crawling is the very first method that it uses, and it crawls your entire site. So it's looking for content, it's looking for words, it's looking at pictures. So that's another reason a lot of folks don't know. So you ever screenshot something and then upload it, you should always rename your pictures, and you should use the alternate text. When they ask you for an alternate name for a picture, rename it to be relevant to your site. Because remember, if it's just tag, if the picture is saved as screenshot 22967, then Google is not reading that as baby food, organic baby food bottle, which would also, that's another way we're going to talk about keywords as well. Keywords will be playing into this crawling, and keywords will be playing into ranking in SEO. So you want to make sure everything that's on your site, everything that's touching your site is relevant to your site and to what folks are searching. So Google uses this method to find out which websites have relevant content related to certain keywords. So if you are selling baby food, for example, I'll say with that, then your site better say baby food somewhere, because people are probably searching baby food. And we'll talk a little bit more about getting deeper into keywords, but that's what it's searching for. When somebody types in Google organic baby food, it's searching the internet, crawling the internet for all the sites that say organic baby food, and it's giving them the best results based on a few things. And we'll talk about that, which is going to be, some of the times it's location, sometimes it's whatever keyword they put in. It might be pricing, it might be gender specific, whatever that phrase is they're typing in. Google is doing massive work behind the scenes. The next thing that Google does for SEO is called indexing. And indexing is the process of adding websites into the Google search database. So what this means is you want your site to show up every single time somebody is searching something. So Google is basically crawling your site, and after it crawls your site, it's storing your site in a specific place on the internet, and it's based on keywords. So if, for me, for example, selling shoes, I want my store to be indexed under shoe store. I want it to be indexed under store. I want it to be indexed under women's footwear. Everything that is relevant to shoe store, I want Google to index it there. So that means my site needs to have all of those words. Another good thing to know about indexing, when you're doing a Google search, this tells you how many sites are indexed in this particular search. So when I typed in shoe stores near me, there is that 1 billion? I don't even know what that is, a whole bunch. But that it's that many results that are indexed. So that means this many sites near me are showing up under shoe store. Shoe store is somewhere on their website. Now, granted, they're gonna rank higher based on a lot of things. First of all, think about Shoe Carnival. It's a larger brand. Not only that, it has a location. So it has an actual store, it has hours, a phone number. That type of stuff also makes you rank higher. That speaks to validity. Google is reading when you have a phone number, when you have an email address, when you have a location, or a website that is pointing to multiple pages. It can actually see that you have things. It's not just kind of a one-page drop ship or one and done kind of thing. You also rank higher because it's able to produce a full list of results for a person. Google reviews is also super, super helpful in ranking you higher in the crawling and indexing space as well. So ranking is the third way, or the third criteria, that Google or search engines use in particular. So when a user types a query, which is what, like when you type in shoe store into the search engine, the most relevant answer is going to show up from that index. Now remember, if I just said I want my shoe store to show up in every index for Google, but if somebody types shoe store near me and they're in California, is my store gonna pop up? Probably not, because even though I'm indexed under shoe store, it's not relevant to their search. I'm not. Now, online is different. If somebody's typing in online shoe store or very specific things like shoes for large feet or something like that, I could still pop up in a search in California. But the likelihood of me being number one or even on the first page, being in Michigan for someone who is searching near me in California or a particular zip code is going to be rare. So I want you all to know that it doesn't mean that you're doing a bad job if you're not showing up in every single person's search. That's why multiple keywords are going to be beneficial, especially for those of us that are in the e-commerce space only. If you don't have a physical location, you do want to show up in multiple places. So you are going to want to be thinking about your target market or customers outside of your state and the things that they are searching. So I want you all, as we keep talking, I want you all to throw in the chat thinking about your particular business right now. If you're 100% going to be e-commerce, not selling in person, you're only selling online, what are some keywords for your particular business that might get, let's say somebody in California, they might be searching for your store to still pop up? So type it in the chat as we keep going. I want you all to kind of ponder, just think of keywords or phrases that would potentially get your store in front of somebody outside of your particular state or area. All right, and while we do that, I'm gonna keep going. It's so funny, I have to go between both screens because I'm letting people in and it's a lot. Like I'm seeing a lot. And then for me to see the comments, I have to actually double click. So I see Janae put sewing, fashion, design, Black owned woman, in-home tutor, yep. Fiance, wife, engagement, not my store, but my tax office. I would use virtual tax office, yep. Swimsuits for large bus, yep. These are all very, very good to think about. Janae, I want you to think a little deeper too. Sewing, because somebody could think about sewing as like a lesson or a skill. So you would want to tag something to that. So you would want to make sure that you're being very specific. You want to pop up when somebody is looking for a sewing lesson, or when someone is looking for a fashion designer, or a custom fashion designer, a couture fashion designer. So your keywords could also be key phrases. You all want to dig to make sure that you're not missing the mark with your customers. So I see K through 12 education, things like fiance and wife. Are they too broad? They could be, Chantel. I would say, so for example, I think you might be selling t-shirts or paraphernalia too. So you could put engagement paraphernalia. Or another thing people search all the time is t-shirts for engagement photos, or Mr. and Mrs. wear, or couples t-shirts. You want to have all of that somewhere on your site. Now, I'm not saying you all need to have just mumbo jumbo on your site. But for example, Chantel, when you launch a new t-shirt, in the description, the title of the shirt might be his and hers engagement ring t-shirt. But in the description, you might say our his and hers engagement ring t-shirt is fit for the perfect couples engagement photos. So now when Google is crawling your site, it not only sees engagement ring, it sees his and hers, it sees engagement photos. Do you all catch what I'm saying now? You want to make sure that these words are showing up all over the place or in multiple places. You're describing your products in different ways so that when it crawls the site, your product is relevant to that search. So I hope that answered your question, Chantel. If not, drop it in the chat. Patty, I don't know how I would do that since I'm just in Cleveland. So if you're just in Cleveland, then your keywords need to focus on your area. If you're not renting, like if you're not doing like a rent to ship or a buy where you're selling wholesale or something, then make your keywords specific to Cleveland. You might want to Hattie, you might want to say yard signs for, I don't know if this is even a high school, signs for Cleveland Heights High School. Because at some point, Cleveland High School graduates are going to be having graduation parties. You want to get very specific to your area, and you can, because you are going to be kind of focused on one area. I hope that helps. Social media management planner. So Asia, that sounds like a specific item, which is good. And even that, you might want to even also, in your description of the social media management planner, you might want to use the word calendar, because everybody doesn't call a planner a planner. Some people call it a calendar. Some people might call it a notebook. So you might want to use the word digital if it's also a digital product. So just make sure that you all are finding multiple ways to promote a certain product, but make it relevant to all the things that folks might be searching. With more specific, make it harder to be searched. No, so you can still use, for example, Janae, you can still use the word sewing somewhere on your site, but you don't want to only use sewing. If you're selling sewing or you offer sewing classes also needs to be on your site, is what I'm saying. Don't only use the word sewing. You want to attach phrases to it too. Think about all the ways people are searching sewing. They might be searching sewing patterns. If you're offering sewing patterns, then that needs to be on your site as well. Or if your product or content is relevant to a sewing pattern, that kind of stuff needs to be on your site. So you don't, and we're going to talk a little, this might have been premature, but we'll talk a little bit more about how to search for keywords that fit your market, but you want to start thinking about that. Jasmine said investing, trading, finances. Yeah. But also, Jasmine, investing and trading and finances and stuff has become super popular. Investing what? So making sure that even though you're using the word investing, as a new investor, what am I probably searching? I'm probably searching how to invest foreign currency, how to invest $500. Like, think about the actual things folks are saying. And you want to make sure that that's showing up somewhere on your site. Cool, Chantel's good. Hair growth oil, sugar body scrub, vegan lip gloss. Oh, I love that you said that, Ebony. Vegan. Vegan is an excellent word, because that differentiates your lip gloss already. There is somebody searching not only lip gloss, they're looking particular vegan lip gloss, cruelty-free lip gloss, non-toxic lip gloss. They're searching those things. Hattie says, okay, got it. Business, social media management, content building help. I like that, content building help. And that fits perfectly, probably even in your bio on your site, Asia. You could say, somewhere in your bio, you could talk about how, one of your skill sets is content building help for the don't know how entrepreneur, or something very simple or basic like that. Got it. Like hashtags on Insta. Yep. Just like that. So we're going to talk a little bit more about it, but thank y'all for sharing. This is really good stuff. All right. So ranking, when a user types the query into the search, like I mentioned, it's everything. Page load time, impacts ranking, your average session duration. And what an average session duration is, sessions are a little bit different from shopping or purchases. So, and a session can be different on each page. So, but then it also is looking at how long somebody's on a certain page or product as well. So that's why it's also important. That's why you don't only have stuff on the homepage. You make sure keywords that are useful are on multiple pages on your site. It looks at the bounce rate. So how often does somebody type in your website and the link is broken? And then it's also based on cookies. Cookies are actually legal, like they're almost enforced on everybody's website in some way. Folks have to opt in to knowing that you're tracking them, especially when you start running ads and all that. And it's become pretty normal. Most people don't deny cookies, or and I'm sorry, does everybody know what a cookie is? Basically, it's tracking your what you're doing on somebody's site, how often you come to somebody's site. So that's what a cookie is. And cookies usually last anywhere from 15 to, they can go up to about 29 or 30 days. So it's not just constantly tracking your computer. It's every time you go to that site within 30 days, that site is now tracking what you're doing on that site within those 30 days so that it can better learn its customer, better learn, what people are clicking on and things like that. So those are some of the things that fit into ranking. So another example of this is searching Dunkin' Donuts. It would show different results to somebody in the US than somebody in India. Why? Because Google is that smart. You don't have to type Dunkin' Donuts near me for Google to give you a Dunkin' Donuts near you. Google is also making some assumptions based on recent or relevant history. So we all know that we don't have private lives now that social media is out, now that we all have cell phones and computers in our hands at all times. There's no privacy. So Google is basically assuming, well, if she's looking for a Dunkin' Donuts, she's hungry, and she's probably hungry in the space that she's in right now. So it's not going to necessarily offer you a Dunkin' Donuts in India if you are in Grand Rapids, Michigan, because that wouldn't really be relevant to you. Now, if it's not right, Google has the little pop-up too. It's smart enough to know, would you like to change your location? It'll ask you that. Like, that is what I mean when I say, like, that's why SEO is so important, because Google is ruling what your customers do. So you want, if your customer, especially if somebody's traveling and they type in donuts near me and their location is still set to their hometown or their city, you want Google to actually ask them, do you want to change your location, or make them refresh their page so that now you're popping up. So that's another reason that those keywords are super important, because if that person typed that in, you want to show up in that space for them no matter where they are, or I'm saying while they're in your area. So let's talk a little bit about types in SEO. So there's on-page SEO and there's off-page SEO. We're going to start with on-page SEO. Anybody, you can type in the chat, anybody have any guesses to what on-page SEO is versus off-page first? Anybody want to share? Just take a guess. Nobody's going to be wrong today. Y'all like, this is new. We don't know. I'm going to give you like 5 more seconds. Don't nobody want to be brave and tell me what their thoughts are? Maybe search engine optimization on the page of the website. Okay. I like it, Asia. I like it. Janae said, no idea. I love it. Because I'm about to tell y'all, Asia, actually, yes. Hattie doesn't know either. I agree with Asia. Yep. Asia, actually, yes. On-page SEO is actually the factors that are on your website. So on-page SEO is the process of optimizing what is on your website itself. Google is not looking at any other outside factors when it's looking at on-page SEO. So it's looking at internal links, which is why it's important for you to have your own domain. So I had a client not too long ago. She was so adamant about using Big Cartel, which is a platform for stores, and it's really cheap to use, fairly simple to build. And I was asking her all the reasons that she wanted to use Big Cartel, and she was like, well, it's easy for me to use. And I said, but just because it's easy for you to use, is it easy for your customer to use? How are people finding you? And she was like, well, I mean, I like that Big Cartel has a database. So like you could go to bigcartel.com or whatever she was sharing, and then there's a list of all the stores for Big Cartel. But I'm like, that's thousands and thousands of thousands. You get lost in that. And she didn't want to buy a domain because Big Cartel gave her a domain for free. But the domain was herstore.bigcartel.com. So that already knocks her on-page SEO a little further out, because her internal links is not linking to her personal domain. It's linking to Big Cartel's domain. And that becomes a distraction for somebody searching on Google when they're searching clothing store on Google, or Big Cartel clothing store. Now all the Big Cartel clothing stores are coming up, opposed to specifically what her page is about. Keyword selection plays a role in this. Meta descriptions, which I'll show you, your headers, your titles, what type of content and what the content is on your page, and then alternate tags. Remember, I mentioned earlier, don't just upload a picture that you screenshotted, or when you get your pictures back from your photographer. That's a big one. When I first got into business, my photographer, she would name my pictures with the date that we did the shoot and maybe like the color of the lipstick or the name of the shoe. But on my website, that doesn't read well. So I wasn't realizing that I need to change the name of it when I upload it, because when Google is crawling my site, they're seeing 2/12/21 boot and not red satin boot, say Nicole, or something like that. Like, even though your customer doesn't see that, remember the back end, Google is reading your stuff. So that's one thing about a alternate text or alternate tag for the name of a photo. And then alternate tags also for products, which I'll show you a little bit of that too. So we're gonna go to the website at the end. After I explain everything, I'm gonna go to my website and kind of backtrack a couple things. So on page SEO, keyword research, for example. Keyword research is literally, I cannot stress to you, that is the most important activity of SEO. So it's the practice where you choose the primary and secondary keywords around which meta tags and content will be based on. So basically, you are telling Google in a very short form what you do. So I'm gonna use Hattie, for example. Hattie sells yard signs or does custom yard signs. That better be the title of one of her pages, if not her whole website. Custom yard cards or custom yard signs absolutely must be on her site. And then maybe there's a secondary title to that. That is what we mean when we say like primary, second, like you want those words to resonate. And then from there, you'll kind of start putting the trend words and keywords behind that. Primary components to keyword research are search volumes, competition, and relevancy. So you can use a tool like Google Keyword Planner. There's a fee to Google Keyword Planner. There's some other free tools out there. I didn't want to recommend any because there are so many and I don't really trust a ton of them. But you can do a search of keywords in such and such industry. Or you can even do what I did. I did a manual search. I went to my competitors' pages and I would literally, so I wrote a list of words I was already kind of thinking about. And then I went to my competitors' pages and I saw if those words were on their page at all. Some of my words were, some of my words weren't. And if they weren't on their pages, I would go to Google and search those and see what popped up. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. So here's what I mean when I say that. So you want to create content on selling organic baby food, for example, based on search volume, meaning the quantity of folks that are looking for this, and competition, meaning what's popping up when they search this. Your primary keyword becomes what is organic baby food. So you see that's now a phrase. So that means that folks are not just searching organic baby food. Folks are asking the question, what is organic baby food? So somewhere on your site, this needs to be popping up because based on search volume and competition, it's popping up. And this is how you know. So I did organic baby food. And what it actually ended up showing me was best organic baby food, best organic baby food without toxic metals. I see that organic. Gerber even is using the word organic, and Gerber has so much clout. You know what I mean? So we're even talking about these big name brand folks know what to use. Earth's Best, organic food for babies, the 8 best organic baby food. So I see best several times when I searched organic baby food. So guess what I'm gonna put on my site? The word best, because clearly out of this search, folks are really looking for the word best, or at least that's what's popping up. You wanna be amongst these folks who are doing that. There was I thought I had posted another picture in here. Maybe it's, let me see something. I'm gonna go ahead one and maybe it's up here. If not, I'll show you later because I also want to show you all what Google does, because Google will also show you people also looked for or people also searched. It usually will show you a couple of other things as well when you're doing keyword research. Yes, I type questions into Google all the time too. Yep, it's true. Because I don't want to run around. I want to know exactly what I want to know. Like, y'all, sometimes I literally be looking up ridiculous stuff and it be like Google be having the answers. But hey, that's what you got to do. So let's talk a little bit about title tags because this plays into SEO as well. So a title tag is the most important factor on your page. So it's the header title element that's displayed on search. So remember I told you that was the search engine page. So this is the SERP right here, what you type in. So they display the first 50 to 60 characters of your title tag, and it summarizes the content of your website. So for example, I searched my store, which is Faye Nicole. It's showing results, and actually I typed it incorrectly. There's a space, but Google is smart enough to know, she probably means space Nicole. So what it does is my site pops up. But my site is not just called www.fayenicole.com. My site, my actual title tag says women's clothing and shoe boutique. You know why? Because somebody has searched women's clothing, somebody's searching shoe boutique. Most people are not searching Faye Nicole, which is why I make sure that my title tag is what people are searching, and then the Faye Nicole is behind that. And then in the meta description, so this is actually the meta description, I actually tell folks what this is. Faye Nicole is an online boutique that specializes in an exclusive statement apparel and footwear for women, blah, 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 blah. And it gives folks the opportunity to click. The other thing that I really love is, I don't know how this happens, to be honest, but these are actually menu items on my site. Google pulls menu items from your site, at least with Shopify. That's one of the reasons I truly love Shopify. I didn't have to do this. So somebody who might not even want to click on my whole site, they know for a fact, ooh, I want to see her accessories. They can literally click right here and Google's going to take them right to my accessories page. But this happens because of crawling, indexing, and ranking. So on page SEO meta description, so remember I told you this is the meta description. So what Shopify in particular does is, Shopify, when you put a description on your website, it is going to actually use that as your meta tag. You have to go and change it. So I am going to show you what I mean by that, because I think that'll be helpful for some folks to see the difference in what I am saying. So I am actually going to go to a product and I'm going to pull it up on the screen for you all and show you the difference in what I mean. Okay. So this is the back end of my site. And this is one of my products. So this is the title of my product. Here's the description that my customers see. And this is what Google would technically scrub and crawl and use as my meta description, except I'm smart enough to know that I want the internet to say something different. Folks are not searching our perfection oversized bow booty will literally have folks stopping you to give compliments. This is when somebody's already on my site. This is telling them why they need this product. This is telling somebody why they should click on my site, why I have something they need. So remember, on my site, this is called the perfection oversized bow booty. But I know on Google, folks are searching red boots. So I call it red oversized bow boot by Faye Nicole. And then the description that folks are seeing, this is the meta description. Now they're seeing Faye Nicole specializes in stylish footwear for women and large size shoes. Then I even put sizes 11, 12, and 13 because folks are also searching shoe size 11, shoe size 12, shoe size 13. So you see how it doesn't really make a ton of sense in a way, but when it's searched in Google, when this pops up, if somebody types in a size 13 red boot, this is going to pop up for them. My shoe is not going to pop up because I have this in here. I have red satin booty. I have size 13. I have 4-inch heel. Somebody might be searching 4-inch heel. So that's what I mean when I say your description and title is different from your meta description and meta title on Google. So I just want you all to know that. So that's using Shopify, for example. So that's the back end of that. All right. Any questions on, let me go back over to the chat. Okay. No. Okay, so on page, did I skip a page? Let me go back. Okay, nope. So meta descriptions, like I said, is the brief description up to 155 characters that summarizes the content on the web page. Always make sure it's different than what's just in your description. It's displayed on the search engine page results. It is literally your cheat sheet to get the click. Like I said, you want to use keywords like Janae. I think that's a good point for you. Maybe your description page doesn't necessarily say sewing classes, but that meta description, you put sewing classes because you know that's what folks are searching for. And then it influences click-through rates. Because even if folks don't find what they want on your site, if you get that click, now you're in their history, their search history, and Google reads that. So that's important. Another thing about on-page SER is URL structure. So URL actually stands for Uniform Resource Locator, and URL is just the thing that starts with www. And there's a difference in HTTP and HTTPS. HTTP is not bad, but it just means that it's not secured. It doesn't have an actual background security label on it. HTTPS are secure sites. So you always want to make sure that you have some type of secure, like your site is under a secure platform. The HTTPS matters to those of us that know things about websites. So use SEO friendly URLs because they help to understand what the web page is about. And what that means is you do not want your at least not all of your links to look like this. Google does not understand this. Google looks at this like mumbo jumbo, whereas this page actually would take you to the same place as this, but this is cleaner. So you can actually, Google will rank you lower for not having clarity in your URL structure because it's not able to crawl this effectively, where it can crawl caramonique.com/mentee. Also, this is easier for a customer to type or remember as well. So just think simplicity when you're building your URLs. And oftentimes websites will give you a URL based on the title of the page you created. You can change your URL down in that meta area, especially on Shopify and WordPress. I know that for a fact on those two. On-page SEO URL structure, continue. So this is called the protocol. So this is what I told you. So this is the secure server because it has that S on the end. And then this is the domain. So this is what I own, caramonique.com. And then this is the path, become a mentee. So I even shortened this even more when I started to do Facebook advertising things because I wanted to be able to put something on a flyer that folks could type in. And this still felt long for a Facebook ad. So I actually changed it to caramonique.com/mentee. So this is actually what you often see, even though my focal point of my site is really even a little bit longer. But this is still very clear for Google. They can tell this is some type of mentee program or something for mentees. If somebody types in the word mentee, I have a pretty high chance of coming up. So header tags. So header tags are the HTML tags that are used to identify headings and subheadings of your content. So remember, that's what you name your product. So if you're selling red satin boots, your header tag should have red satin boot in it. Hierarchy in header tags goes from H1 to H6. So what that means is the main title is going to be H1. Underneath that, whatever your next title is going to be considered H2, H3. This should be very familiar for those of you that have ever written a paper or used like any type of Microsoft Word or any type of word processing system. Usually the headers, they're big and then they get smaller as they go down. SEO reads in that same way, which is also, if you have a blog, it's always nice to break up your content as well because it helps the crawlers, the spiders and the bots on your site see that content, that there might be multiple content. Sometimes when you just have this long page of content and there's no like major header or descriptor to it, it's reading whatever that header tag is and it's assuming everything on that page is only relevant to that. Search engine tags are easier to read and understand than an abundance of content. That's what I just shared. And this usually applies to blogs and articles. And most of you who are selling in particular, like tax service, for example, I know you're doing tax service. You should definitely have some type of blog on your site. It doesn't have to be a super long one or crazy detail, but you should have a couple of articles on your site that give people some type of education on taxes, because now you're going to, even if somebody's not necessarily looking for a tax preparer, your site is now still coming up in search engines for tax education, which starts to make you rank higher with Google. You want to make sure that you are just a part of your industry, period. So when I don't have a blog on Faye Nicole anymore, but when I first started off, I had a blog on my site because that drove more content and I was able to backlink, which was really, really good for me. So those of you, especially in the service-based industry, I encourage you to start a small blog, even if you're just posting an article once a month. And you can do guest posts. You can have other folks write the articles and backlink to their sites or whatever. You just want to have a blog with relevant content. All right, so internal linking, this is very important. So an internal link is a hyperlink that goes from one page on your site to another page on your site. So that means if you go to karenmonique.com and then you click on business tools, it takes you to my business tools page. That's an interlink because it's keeping you on my site, but it's sending you to a new location. Google recognizes that you're still on the same site, but Google is now saying, ooh, what is this page about? Google is reading every single page separately. Everything is reading how things are linked in SEO, all of that. So you want to have internal links. That's another reason I absolutely, and I know people are like, people don't like to click around. People are always on their phone. You really want a one scroll website. That's the new trend, this one scroll website where everything is just kind of like in this header box. And then you click just on that and it takes you to a landing page, which is not terrible, but at the same time, it's limiting the content that's on your site. I always encourage folks to kind of stick with the traditional model of building a website, meaning that multiple pages are linking to other pages. You never want your page to only link to one page. If you go to karenmonique.com, the funny thing is, well, somebody actually asked me, like, why do you have your About Me on multiple pages on your site? And I was like, because you know why? I am a business coach. I'm really selling myself. So I need to make sure that it's on multiple pages of my site so that when folks click on that, Google is reading business coach, mentor, female entrepreneur. Like those words need to be showing up multiple places in multiple ways for Google searches. So I link on different pages to some similar content on my page. It allows users to navigate your site, internal links, useful to spread link equity. That is another thing. Link equity is the value that's passed from one website to another website. So what that means is you want to be the dominant website, of course, in your industry, but you don't want to be so dominant that people are so sick of clicking on your link because you're not adding value. That's another reason it's important to have multiple pages on your website, because if you keep popping up but you only have one page, people are turned off by you. Like, why are you the prime person? You have one page. Like that, you don't have enough content to give me value. So that's another reason that you want to make sure you're having multiple pages and spreading out some of that link equity across your page. And also it helps Google crawl more. The more content Google can crawl, the more good content Google can crawl, the more likely you are to show up. Like I said, it allows you to rank higher in SEO and allows multiple pages to show up in search engines, because now your site is going to be indexed in multiple places. Remember, we talked about earlier, indexing, almost like a file cabinet. Google is taking things from your site and putting them in and filing them away in certain areas. So that will end up equaling more sales, more money for you. So keyword usage, this is what we've really been talking about. So when search engines crawl a website, they use natural language processing, or what we call NLP. So NLP is when the search engine is actually looking for content and keywords. So when your website is about baby food, like I mentioned before, if the only keyword you use is baby food, you probably won't rank, because that's not really, really relevant content. That's baseline content. So what Google does is usually when somebody types in baby food, it's going to show you searches related to baby food. And it shows you all these things. And then it also shows you on the same page, people ask for. So what does that mean? If I'm selling baby food, I better make sure that I'm looking at, okay, what baby food do you start with? I'm going to click on this and see what pops up. See if any of my competitors are on there. I'm going to see if these are articles. What are people talking about? This is what I mean when I say do research. You don't want just to be only baby food is the only time you pop up. You want to pop up when people are looking for baby food recipes. You want to pop up when people are saying what baby food brand is best. That's a really good example. I love when people ask, because people always ask the best something, or the most popular, or the most useful, or the best value for their money or something. You want to have some type of article or something on your page when we talk about that education piece, for folks that has that in that, why we are the best. Or if you're not the best, quote unquote, you're educating folks, or even like, let's say if you're selling organic baby food that you make, but people might not want or be ready for homemade organic yet, you can do a 3-step process to switching your baby from such and such to organic, and maybe use the actual brand. Gerber is our recommendation for weaning it, for baby food, to wean your baby into organic or natural. I don't know nothing about baby food. I'm just using an example, y'all. But that's what I mean, is that you want relevant content to constantly be popping up in your keyword usage and search. Sitemaps. So this is another part of on-page SEO. Sitemaps are the hierarchy list of a website. So it's designed to help the users and search engines understand the structure of your website. So there are 2 types. There's going to be your HTML sitemaps, which is designed for humans, and your XML sitemaps, which are designed for crawlers. So HTML is your baseline, like when you type something in, it shows up just how you typed it, and your XML is coding. Most of you will not be doing coding. The nice thing about Shopify is you are not required to do any coding. It does it all for you. So it translates your HTML into XML content for crawlers. So that's another reason that you want to be very clear. You don't want to be misspelling a lot of stuff. You want to proofread your website, because the HTML is being translated into XML through however smart your website is for the crawlers to read. And then the hierarchy, as I mentioned, is going to be your header or your home page, and then your next layer of pages, and then kind of those sub pages or those footer pages on your website. So the web SEO is read just like you would read, from top to bottom or from left to right. It's not this like crazy rocket science behind the scenes thing. It really can be understood. So now let's talk a little bit about off-page SEO. So if on-page SEO was everything on your website it's searching, off-page SEO is probably the opposite of that. So it is the process of linking or promoting your website using link building, meaning things outside of your website that are getting folks to your website. So this would be your social media platforms, maybe your blogs, maybe collaborations that you've done, and it also helps improve website recognition, credibility, trustworthiness, and authority. Authority is super, super important in the online market, because if you're seen as the authority in your market, you're going to get the sales. So that's another reason it's super important for you to be running ads or collaborating with folks, or even just tagging your location when you're on social media, because off-page SEO is tracking that for when those folks are typing near me. If you've never tagged that your business is in, Texas or wherever it might be, then Google doesn't know that, especially if your address is not on your website or something like that. So this is why it's so important to think about every piece of your website, on page and off page. Your social media needs to match up. That's another thing. We're going to talk about branding at some point. Everything needs to match up, because it all matters. So let's dig into off-page optimization. So it is used to increase traffic, higher domain authority, better credibility, increase your page rank, and increase brand awareness. And it uses some of those same tools that we talked about, that keyword searching and all of that, but it's searching another platform for you that's linking to your site. So we're going to kind of probably just stick with Facebook. I think that might be the most popular one that most folks know about, is that having a Facebook page for your business is going to help your website. Because now, have you ever searched something on Google and the site popped up, but then right under that, their Twitter and their Facebook page showed up? That's because they're linked. That's what I mean by off-page optimization. I'm about to see if I type in my site. I can show you all. Yep. So I am in Google. It shows you my website, but then it also shows you that I have a Facebook page. It shows you that I have an Instagram page. It shows you, I don't even know what this is. See, this is new for me. Let me click on it. I don't know what this is. Beauty, nail, hair salons. So someone posted, look, I just got blessed. Somebody has posted my business on, I'm gonna have to look at who this is. But it looks like it's really just pulling from my Instagram. I've never even seen this. But that's the point of off-page linking. I've never seen this site. It looks like some kind of search engine that tells you beauty salons in the area, even though I'm not a beauty salon. But that's the point. That's going to give me more credibility already. I didn't even know that was there. This is and I search my site every day, so that must have, I have to see when that popped up. That seems to be fairly new, but that's what I mean. It shows you not only the website that you're looking for, it shows you all the things that it's linked to. Also, the Crew Cosmetics, I have a YouTube channel, so it's showing you my YouTube channel. And then underneath that, because I was specific, it shows you other related companies. It also is going to show you search related to Crew cosmetics, makeup vendors. Like, this is what people are searching when they're thinking of that. It also shows you my information about my site, because I have a Google page. It shows you the reviews that folks have put on Google from my site. It links you to my profiles. And all I set up was my Google profile. And then Google does the rest of this. So this is what I mean by off-page SEO. So Google is pulling, this is just my business card. And this is from last year, pulled it from last year in a banner that I used on my website. But that's what we mean by off-page link building. Google is pulling this stuff from other places and putting it on the internet. That's why it's also important to make sure what you put on the internet is what you want on the internet. But anyway, unlike link building and on-page, link building and off-page is the use of hyperlinks from other websites to your own. So Facebook.com, and when you link your Instagram, or when you post a picture or something on Facebook and in your caption, I always put my website or some type of hashtag that's related to my website, because that is building that off-page credibility. That is getting me into more searches. It drives referral traffic and increases your website authority. Also, it's super, super important once you start running Facebook ads and Instagram ads and Google ads, any type of ads, that's referral traffic. The more ads you run, or the longer you run ads, the smarter it becomes. It starts to not only track the people that have already shopped with you. After like 100 clicks, you're able to do lookalike audiences. You're able to do audiences like your top 1%, audiences like your customers that check out. Like, there's so many things that you can start to do after you start using off-page link building. And then strategies for link building and off-page is high quality content creation. So like working with influencers or bloggers, other folks who have websites, other folks who have really popping Instagram and Facebook pages. Those are the folks you want to work with, because their people are now clicking on your site. So those people become a part of your network. That's the beauty of off-page linking. And then off-site engagement, consistent social media presence. The more you show up on social media, the more social media is going to show up for you. I know that sounds basic. It probably doesn't even sound true for some folks right now who don't have a ton of followers but are posting every day. Keep posting. Use hashtags. Research the hashtags in your industry. Link to other companies. Like, when I first opened the Crew Cosmetics, I would always say, I used to love, like, I would talk from an owner perspective, because my brand talked about the Crew. It was a personalized brand. So me and my friends our captions would tell stories, and it would say, my favorite color used to be Ruby Woo by MAC. I finally found, a comparable color after 10 years, and I would promote my loyal friend. But I also wrote in there Ruby Woo by MAC, which somebody is searching Ruby Woo by MAC, because that's a popular color. I think it might have been every girl's first red. At least it's still one of my favorites. I probably will never get rid of Ruby Woo. But anyway, use that in your off-page linking to really help your site rank. So, do's and don'ts of SEO. Do use white hat techniques. And what that means is you are staying within the guidelines of what the search engine tells you to do. You are not creating manipulative things, and I won't even get into that so that you all don't really do it, but you do not want to try to manipulate a search engine, because that is another way for you to get de-indexed off of a website. And what that could be is fake links, or writing, you can link, or linking, like backlinking from somebody else's site. I see somebody's hand. You can go ahead and type in the chat. Are you able to type? If not, raise your hand again. I saw her hand. Ebony, was your hand up? Okay, maybe she's typing. But you do not want to try to manipulate the search engine, crawling or anything like that. You don't want to go messing with your XML if you don't know what you're doing, because it will get you de-indexed. You want to make sure your content and everything is in line with the rules. And it's not to say like profanity is not necessarily bad or anything like that, but you don't want to use like bot sites or trick codes that like link folks to sites that aren't real or anything like that to get them to come to your site. So that's a thing too. I forgot the actual name of it, but there's a way for folks to like create a link that looks like a OfficeDepot.com, for example. It might look like OfficeDepot.com, so somebody clicks on it because OfficeDepot.com is a trusted site, but it's really a fake site that links them to your site. Google will eventually catch on to the fact that that is a fake site. So that's one of the things that's called black hat techniques. You want to opt out of those. You want to get backlinks from relevant sites. So that means use credible bloggers, use folks and platforms that are trusted: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Reddit, those kinds of things. You want to write engaging and lasting content. So you do not want to just kind of make up something that is not relevant to your audience, because that folks are not going to be interested and you're not going to be getting those clicks. And then you want to do keyword searches. Are folks getting kicked out, or are they just leaving? Okay, I hope folks aren't getting kicked out. Okay, and then you want to do keyword searches. You don't want to offer black hat techniques. You want to avoid backlinks from irrelevant sites. You don't want to duplicate titles on multiple pages. So you don't want every title on your website to be red satin boot. Like, you want to switch up titles. You do not want to copy other websites' content. It actually helps them, because the more that they're seeing their words, so it's different from like keywords or phrases. You don't want to go to somebody's site and plagiarize a whole paragraph, because that doesn't make you rank higher. That makes them rank higher, because one, their content is older than yours. Google crawled their site first. So now they're going to rank higher because you're pushing their content higher. And then avoid keyword stuffing. So meaning like you're putting a whole bunch of cities in to your keyword, or like your description says Texas, California, New York, Rodeo Drive. Like, you don't want to put a whole bunch of cities or stuff in there. That's called stuffing. And then it really makes it harder for Google to read your content, or that it's relevant. Do build internal links to your website. So remember, you want to have multiple pages. Do wait. Ranking takes time. So if you go in and update your site tonight, it is not going to rank tomorrow. It takes days for Google to crawl a site and to index you properly. And that's a good thing. You want to be put in the right place. You don't want Google to just crawl your site, find the first couple keywords, and just assume that your entire site is about books, because you wrote in your bio that you've written 3 books, but really your site is about the content of the books. You don't want that. You don't want to look like a bookstore. And then make your website user and mobile friendly. Do not build site-wide backlinks, meaning from site to site. So don't keep sending your customer back and forth from different sites. Only backlinks to site's homepage. Don't do that, y'all. One example is Pinterest. Folks post on Pinterest. If you post a specific product, folks are usually looking for that product. Don't send them to your homepage, because now they have to click around. And when folks have to click around, they're less likely to purchase. But it is totally okay to send them to the page where it is first, and then offer suggestions like people also liked or people also purchased. You want to get them to what they were looking for first and then offer them the search around. And you don't want to over optimize anchor text, which is like the clickable text in your hyperlinks. You do not want to make folks click over and over and over again. It's okay to have them link to multiple pages on your site, but don't let your site only be linking. You want them to take action on something at some point. I hope that makes sense. So that is the end of the actual SEO discussion. I wanted to take about 5 to 7 minutes to just kind of walk you all through a couple of things on my website for you to see in action what we talked about. But does anybody have any questions that they want to throw in the chat? Are we all still good? If so, just throw stuff in the chat. But something I wanted to show you all. So this is Shopify, the back end of one of my Shopify stores. And my internet is really slow right now. I think because I've been streaming all day. So a speed score. So this right now is telling me that my store is slower than similar stores on Shopify, and it'll give me a report. It's actually not even that slow. I don't know why Shopify's been doing this. I called and asked about it, and it's calculating some things like kind of how long pages are loading and things like that. So sometimes it could be what time of day folks are actually on my site, because, you know, if they're on my site at a high speed time, it's taken an account for that. But my site actually loads, well, it might not load super fast right now because of my internet, but usually my site pops right up. So I'm not sure why it's ranking like that. But anyway, it'll show you your ranking, but this is my store. So that's something I wanted to show you all. That plays a role in SEO as well, how fast your store might be ranking. I wanted to show you all. Hold on. There was something I wanted to show you all. I can't remember in particular. Nope. I showed you all meta tag and description. Let me go back to the PowerPoint and remember, because I made a mental note in my head when I was presenting, that I wanted to go back and show you all something. Oh, was it header tags? Was that what I wanted to show? Okay, so navigation. That's where it is. Okay, so remember when I told y'all when we were on Google and I showed you all that underneath the search for my store, these things popped up. Google is pulling my menu. That's why it's so important for you to have multiple pages, like I mentioned. Google was actually pulling directly from my menu for folks to click directly on collections. So folks didn't have to click around. And I named my pages in my menu very simple, but then the products that are attached to that might have a more detailed name. And then the meta description might have an even more detailed name as well for that. So here's where my homepage title, this was what I wanted to show you all. So this is what Google reads. Even though my store is shopfaynicole.com, I don't want that to pop up because folks don't know what that means. That's not what folks are searching. Folks are searching women's clothing. Folks are searching shoes, shoe boutique. So that's what I put in here. And then my homepage meta description, this is what folks are seeing when they do their search. That's in the description for my site. I made sure to have a social sharing image preview. This is also important for that off page. This creates brand authority because people see my branding now. That Faye Nicole right there, they're seeing this on social media as well. Google is reading that. Google can crawl images as well because remember, even though you're posting it in human form, it's reading it as HTML. So Google is seeing these things as what they are. And then this is my Google Analytics account, so you don't have to worry about that right now. I have a Facebook, so I'm trying to see if there's anything else from that page that I want to show you? No. Oh, and then Facebook and Instagram, actually just within the last like month and a half, they have a new feature on Shopify. We had to download like a Facebook app. So I'm still playing around with this, but it does seem easier to use. Basically, Facebook now allows you to have a shop, like an actual shop. So I must have disconnected I deleted my old one today, so I need to reconnect it. But this is also going to play into that off-page credibility for me. My Facebook shop is now going to be linked directly to my Shopify, meaning folks can check out on Facebook through Shopify. They don't even have to leave Facebook. It used to be where folks could check out on Facebook, but it would still link them to your website. Now they can check out right on Facebook, and they don't even realize they're actually checking out on your website because you've linked them through, so they have a secure partnership, that kind of thing. Same thing, Facebook owns Instagram now, so there's the same thing for Instagram, and that also plays into ads, because when you run an ad on Facebook, you can choose to run it on Instagram for a very similar price. Somebody said this is a game changer. You mean this lesson, Frederica, or just this whole Facebook, Instagram shopping thing? And then you can create ads right from here. I absolutely love Shopify, y'all. And we're going to dig into Shopify shopping on Facebook. It is a game changer. I absolutely love it. So we are actually going to dig into Facebook a little bit more, not Facebook, I'm sorry, Shopify next week, 2 weeks from now. And what I need you all to do over the next week. So there was no homework, quote unquote, before class today, but there actually is a definition sheet for you all, because I went over a lot of terms today, and I know that this lesson could have been overwhelming. That's another reason I didn't want to get into like building a website today, because I was like, they need to just process content. The other thing that you all will need to be doing, actually, I need to share my screen again, because I know a couple of people had some questions. I think I have officially unlocked all of the documents, because I know some people had to request access. And I am so sorry. I hate that. I don't know why Google unlocks and locks certain ones. But there is a document in Google Classroom that you all will need to do between now and our next session. And of course, it is worth an extra grant. And all the grant points have been updated. So you can look at the scoreboard in the portal. But between now and our next, oh my goodness, I thought I was logged in already. Don't you hate when you're not logged in? Luckily, my passwords are saved, so I don't have to type everything. But I want you all to do this worksheet, and then there will be, I don't know if I'm gonna do a pre-video where you all need to watch. It'll be like 10 minutes if I do that. Sometimes I think the visual is better than a document, but before our next meeting, there might be, I'm thinking about uploading just like a 10-minute video for you all to watch prior to our next meeting, so you can get a jump on our website building activity that we'll do. But over the next 2 weeks, please do this worksheet. This is your keyword research / SEO website worksheet. This is going to be important for you to have at our next meeting, because if we're working on building site, talking about your website, you're going to want to already have the keywords to be building your descriptions, to build your titles and meta tags and all of that as we work through building your website. If you all have questions on this, please let me know. But you literally write in your keyword ideas, start to do the research on it, click where they're ranking on whatever search engine you're using. So whether you choose to use Bing or Google, I will tell you, research shows that Bing is more friendly for African Americans, like African American searches. Bing is one of the ones, I guess. So, when you search on Google, like natural hair, a whole bunch of white women pop up. Bing apparently shows Black women without you having to type in natural hair for Black women. I have not experimented with all the pages, but if you feel like Bing might be a better search engine, I do personally think more folks are using Google, but that's a good thing to know. And it's just the same thing. So I would recommend starting with 4 keyword ideas, and remember they can be phrases to do that. And then also look at your competition and the average monthly searches, which you can find out on Google. You know, how many people are actually searching this term in a month. And then your keywords could also change per season if you have seasonal items. So this is your homework over the next 2 weeks. And then another little pointer that I wanted to point out for you all is that I do have, for any of you who don't currently have a website, if you're looking to build one, I don't recommend doing this until probably the day before or the day of our lesson. But if you use my referral link, I have a referral link to Shopify, you get a 14-day free trial plus a free cheat sheet that I've created for Shopify. And for those of you, I do offer website services, and we can talk about that as well for those of you that want help actually building your website, because we're going to talk about the components that need to be on your website and things that will be beneficial for building your website through Shopify in 2 weeks, but we won't be like 100% building it. So I do offer a service for that if anybody wants to talk about that, and it's discounted to you all. But that is it. This week is much lighter than the last couple weeks. You just have this worksheet to complete, and then there will possibly be that video that I'm going to put up. And then also there will be I'll put out a poll within the next week or two for our movie night / social event that I'm thinking we'll have probably maybe the first or second week of March, to watch the movie we choose to watch, to just have kind of like some fun, a little girls' night, a little less business, a little more play. So anybody have any questions they want to type in? And I'm going to stop recording because I think the lesson is done.